Since the dawn of time, man has always dreamed of doing the impossible. Whether it's expanding the Roman Empire to all of Europe, or watching the entirety of Naruto in less than 3 days, humans are always pushing beyond their limits. There is, however, one goal that has always captured the minds of those most influential, most noble of spirit. I am, of course, talking about the letter of admission to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Not Caesar, Winston Churchill, or even our beloved Keanu Reeves has managed this achievement of true distinction. Lucky for us, however, the Courier has received such a letter to the Mojave School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. So, can you beat Fallout New Vegas as Harry Potter? Before we jump into the run, let's go over the rules. The only weapon I can use is a wand. I must wear glasses, and I can only wear robes. And of course, I must do what Harry Potter would do. After filling out my birth certificate, I sculpted my Harry. I originally started off with an attempt at creating the abomination that was Daniel Radcliffe in the 4th film. However, being the ingenious plastic surgeon that I am, my creation was more akin to a half-man, half-mandrake. Harry isn't packing OP stats in any field. Therefore, I went for a middle-of-the-road build, except perception, intelligence, and luck, since Harry by this point had survived more assassination attempts than even Fidel Castro. For skills, the only ones I really needed were explosives and energy weapons, as my wand is a fire wand. Now this will therefore increase with power once I acquire the Pyromaniac perk and higher energy weapon skill. For traits, the obvious 4 eyes, and finally Wild Wasteland to further spice up our magical adventure. After surviving another assassination attempt by petty Mojave Death Eaters, I set off into the wastes. But this time, I am more than some measly courier. I am now the Courier Who Lived, a disgusting, vampiric-looking Englishman destined to save the wasteland with the power of a wooden stick. So off I set to our first objective, acquiring my weapon from the Nipton Town Hall 1 shop. The journey was, as expected, magical. However, upon reaching the beautiful town of Nipton, I was horror-struck. Mojave wizards in every corner, strung up on crosses left to die. I couldn't believe my disgusting face. Who was responsible for such atrocities? Of course, it was none other than a band of Roman Death Eaters. Disgraceful. They told me of how proud they were, and how some wizards are better than others. I didn't understand. How could some wizards be better than others? My journey to Vegas would no doubt shed light on this. Having heard enough of their nonsense, I quickly scurried into the town hall and grabbed my wand. I could feel the power running through my veins. I had acquired the Wizarding World's equivalent of an AR-15. So how does the wand work? It's a strictly fire-based weapon that doesn't have any ammo. Instead, you can only shoot several times before it must recharge, although this recharging time is short. And I must say, Jesus fucking Christ, this thing is sore on the eyes. The modder for some absurd reason decided to crank up the gem's brightness to level 99, blinding me whenever I unholstered it. Now it was time for our second objective, to acquire some robes. Walking down the highway towards Novak, I spotted some more Roman Death Eaters. However, for some strange reason, when I sent a full force of fireballs straight into their face, they chose to only stare at me menacingly, instead of attacking or doing anything while I incinerated them. What happened next, however, was truly magical. The wizarding gods delivered me a personal blessing. Right in front of me lay the corpse of a bright follower from RepCon. I couldn't believe it. I had acquired my hand-me-down robes. This meant we didn't have to go to RepCon at all. We could head straight down the road for Vegas. There was just one problem. I still didn't have my glasses. I realized I hadn't actually been able to see anything that had happened so far. So my next objective was the solar power plant, Helios 1, as here I could acquire reading glasses from a table inside the building. Proceeding down the road, I began to feel lonely. I knew I couldn't make the journey alone, and happily, I ran into a barrel at just this moment, who for some reason made me feel things. I decided to bring it with me, and in preparation for the threesome I was planning, made it 2. I now had 2 temporary companions. Although, to keep my sanity in check, I said goodbye to one shortly after. Thus, I headed off with my new partner in crime, a barrel. And it seems the gods blessed our union, for there were no problems on the next step of my mission. I made it to the power plant and snuck inside with impossible grace and Englishness. And there I found them. My glasses. Now it was done. My disgusting abomination of a Harry Potter cosplay was almost complete. However, upon hearing about their troubles at getting the plant up and running, I couldn't help myself. I am Harry, the hero of the wastes. And these annoying plebeians need me to save them. Me and my barrel are sticking around. So, after accessing both terminals, I headed down into the tower. What happened next, though, totally caught me off guard. Malcolm Holmes had somehow snuck his way into Helios 1 and then into the heavily restricted mainframe tower. Staring in awe at his panache, I watched as he ran full force at the Protectrons with his bare fists. Malcolm must have said Diagon Alley with his flu powder. At this point, I was so distracted and pissing myself with laughter that I completely forgot about my HP and died instantly. Upon my second return, I was met with grave news. Malcolm! Malcolm Holmes had perished in the battle. I felt the pain and rage flow through me. I had lost not just a friend, but a comrade. I said my final goodbyes and left. Now, to finish the quest, I would have to activate the robot Python with a passcode I had found on the way in, as I lacked the repair skill to get the mainframe up and running. It was here, however, that I seriously screwed up. Because I had waltzed outside after activating Python like a complete moron before he could repair the generator, the game decided that instead of allowing me to finish the quest, it would tell me to f*** off and do nothing.
Oh, no. No.
Truly the Fallout New Vegas experience. So yes, in order to finish the quest, I had to reload my save, go back to the terminals, go through the entire tower again, make it to Python, and fix the mainframe, which I did. Now it was a matter of where to send the power. The choice was obvious for our handsome, heroic, disgusting hero. I would send power to everybody. I saved everyone. I'm the best person in the world. After finishing the quest and hitting a juicy level 4, I decided I was ready to head to Vegas. However, I desperately needed a Ron and Hermione. Luckily, Fallout New Vegas offers a plethora of fantastic companions to choose from. For Hermione, the easiest choice was of course Veronica. For Ron, I concluded that he was a loyal, brave, strong, and humorous person. Therefore, I set my eyes on the obvious choice, Rex the dog. Not only does he fit all these personality traits, but he's also a pure breed, and his brain is running from the inside. Traveling down the road, that loneliness hit me. I had abandoned my beautiful barrels at Helios, and I was in dire need of some new temporary companions. So I made a quick stop at the outskirts of Boulder City to get another faithful temporary companion, Private Kowalski. Perfect. I now had a determined follower who would join me on my mission to Vegas. He was like a weaker, uglier, more nerdy reflection of myself. I called him Neville. After this, I passed the 188 trading post and finally picked up Veronica. Neville was very happy about that. After heading into Freeside and transmogrifying the local population into ash, I popped into the finest establishment known to man, the King's School of Impersonation. The king told me of their troubles in the area, and being the disgusting-looking good-natured boy I was, our trio obliged to help him. So we scooted off to investigate Oris's suspicious bodyguard services. As I neared the gate, I quite literally had a heart attack as Neville ignored my commands and barged in, trying to save everyone himself and take the hero's title from me like a traitorous backstabbing snake. At this point, the run had become half a Kowalski challenge, and I was determined not to let him win. So like the malleable acrobatic wizard I am, I brushed past him and started up the quest. Isn't it beautiful? My planned gang of 3 was now a noble team of 4. Until we entered and discovered Neville could not enter deeper into Freeside. Good. Don't try to show me up again, you fucking nerd. Now, being the intelligent, perceptive individual with glasses and a boarding school education that I am, I sniffed out Oris's scheme and headed back to the king. My next objective was to investigate NCR attacks against the local population. And so, like a good lapdog, I finished the entire questline while also saying yes to fixing Freeside's entire butterbeer addiction problem. After doing all this dirty work, I finally got my hands on my true goal, Rex Weasley. From here, the path was clear to the strip, so I headed out, popped into Mick and Ralph's to get a free passport, and headed straight for Benny. But before we do this, it's time to find out our faction. To live that Hogwarts fantasy, I won't be choosing a side. Instead, I've thrown all 4 factions into a randomizer, just like a sorting hat. And whatever comes out is the faction we'll go with. Or in other words, my house. Not Caesar. Not Caesar. Are you sure? You could be great, you know. It's all here in your head. And Caesar will help you on your way to greatness. There's no doubt about that. Well, if you're sure, better be Mr. House. This means that I, Harry Potter, will be joining House. A perfect match. Now it was off to the tops. It was here, however, that my good-natured soul finally decided to screw me. I am very nice and chose not to incendio Benny on the spot, so I agreed to talk in private in the top's common room. To no one's surprise, Benny said "F that" and left me locked inside the suite, only to send in Death Eater assassins moments later to try and kill me. I was pissed. That snake had messed with the wrong wizard. I was now going to destroy him, but first I would have to visit my beloved overlord and headmaster of Vegas, Mr. House. You might not like him, but you can't deny House has got style. So naturally, I accepted his quest and headed for the fort. Scaling the cliffside like the gorgeous glowing gremlin I am, I made my way down to Cottonwood Cove. Here I took the boat across and entered Caesar's tent. Much to my delight, Benny the backstabber sat waiting for me, hands in chains. But before I could decide what to do with him, I had to complete my first task, upgrading House's Securitrons. So off I popped down into the bunker, incinerating all robotic filth in my way. I then installed the Mark II upgrade software and headed back for my prize, Benny. Harry is, as we know, a self-sacrificing saint. Therefore, he couldn't help himself but do the right thing for Benny. Crucifixion. Justice. So after heading back to Mr. House, it was now time to establish the Order of the Mojave, an alliance fit for winning the upcoming Battle of Hoover Dam. First on the list was the Boomers, located at Nellis Air Force Base. Waltzing down the road, I came across George, who offered me some advice on how to avoid getting my legs blown off by the lovely people I hope to call my future allies. This was very nice of George, and I looked lovingly into his eyes, ready to reach out my hand and thank him. As I raised my arm, however, I felt something was wrong. It was though a force had slithered down my body and into my bones, and my muscles and my soul. I had been betrayed again and again by people taking advantage of my kindness. I had lost my beloved barrels. I had been called a nerd and Four Eyes by a Death Eater. My rage took over. I knew I couldn't trust this man and his helpful advice. I knew what I had to do. In an instant, my kind-hearted nature was thrown out the window, and I felt something entirely different take control of me. Holding forth my wand, I blew George's face clean off with an incendio to rival Mount Etna, while also treating myself to a lovely kill-cam shot of Rex's anus. That's a little something for me. I was horror-struck. What had I become? What about the rules? What about lovely Harry, hero of the world? I didn't know what to do, or who to trust. But I can't stop now, and so I pushed on. Easily making it across, I met with Pearl, who told me of their troubles. This time, I felt my usual trademark Harry impulse to help. Thank God. I was back to being in line with the run now. However, the kettle inside of me was beginning to burst. Disgruntled, I accepted their quest, and finished them all. The ants, the history lecture, the solar panels, and even the goddamn plane. God, I hated every single one of them. At this point, I was ready to shove my wand deep inside my nostrils, but I had finished the quest. So, after getting their support, I headed to our next objective, checking on the emerters. Immediately, I was met with lovely hospitality, with Caccino calling me a dickweed and threatening to beat my face in if I kept asking questions. Hearing this, I wanted nothing more than to exterminate them like a bunch of sand people. Harry Potter was having none of this shit, but again, I did what I had to do and completed the quest. Finally came the time to visit Hermione's hometown, the Brotherhood of Steel bunker. Before doing this though, I decided to pop by Goodsprings and help the town that once saved me from certain death. It was here that my journey as Harry Potter, the courier who lived, the hero of the wastes, would come to an unexpected end, or at least a substantial shift in mood. As the battle started and gunshots erupted, awareness of myself and surroundings were lost. Once every last enemy was lying dead at my feet, I surveyed my surroundings, and what I saw plunged my heart into a pit of darkness. Rex Weasley had fallen in battle. My beloved companion, my Ronald, they had taken him from me. I killed them all, but I was too late. Like a true gentleman, Ringo completely ruined the moment and decided to thank me mid-bawling my eyes out. But his kindness could do nothing to the darkness and cold that was enveloping me. I was now a changed man. After getting our bearings, Hermione and I set off, no longer as a trio, but as a duo. Perhaps I was so broken that we could say she was traveling alone. Arriving at Hidden Valley, we made it inside the bunker and spoke to the Elder. During his and Hermione's conversation, my mind wandered. The pain slowly spread. The darkness took its most brutal and final hold of me. A familiar darkness, but this time different, all-encompassing. I, Harry Potter, had changed, and so had my intentions in this god-forsaken wasteland. I could no longer be its hero, its savior. It was time for an upgrade. I threw off the damn reading glasses, wand, and hand-me-down robes, and equipped a new outfit, sunglasses, and an MG42. I unloaded into McNamara and all his lapdogs, killing him, his guards, and even my faithful companion, Hermione. Attachments of the soul would only hold me back from my true destiny. It was showtime. After blowing up the bunker and equipping the deceased leader's robes, I headed back for the headmaster. But before I could commence our final quest, I took a quick trip to the substation, massacred a band of NCR troops, and then headed for Hoover Dam. As the battle started, I did what any normal underage wizard would do in a stressful situation: a plethora of chems and gallons of alcohol. From here, I cleared a path with my wizarding machine gun and made my way to Lanius. I originally thought this fight would be easy. How could a man with a sword ever compete against Ollivander's finest creation, the MG42? I was dead wrong. Even with more alcohol and chems, Lanius and his men cornered me into a total gangbang. But I managed to stabilize, which for some reason made the legate run down the hill like a little girl. Except, halfway, he decided to become a total gentleman and pause, letting all his men pass like we were at some sort of traffic congestion. The Legion truly does have some of the Mojave's finest. At this point, I had emptied what felt like thousands of rounds into this abomination.
Why won't you die?
But I would have my victory. I finally killed the legate and all his lackeys. The job was done. Now it was time for General Oliver, who at first had a glimmer of hope, as instead of pulling out my weapon, my game decided to pull out my hands. Not once, but twice. But then came the gun, and so did his death. It was over. The run had finished. I, the courier who lived, had saved the wasteland with the power of death and destruction. Some of you may see this as me failing the run, and you might be accurate in that assessment. However, in my eyes, this is precisely the Harry that was always supposed to be. If you enjoyed the video, please consider sacrificing a like to the algorithm gods, and subscribe for more delicious content. Thanks for watching, and until next time, farewell.